Hey everyone, Day of the Dino Part 2, Dino Thunder's second episode, conclusion to the first two-parter of the season. Actually, you know what, let's see. Oh, I don't think there's as many, multi-part episodes as there were in Ninja Storm. Let's see, there's Day of the Dino, later is White Thunder, and then we don't have anything until way at the end. There's the team-up with Ninja Storm, and then the finale. Huh. Maybe Dino Thunder will turn out better for not having a lot of multi-parters. That was a really weak thing in Ninja Storm, but yeah, the premiere works perfectly as a two-parter. It's really good. So it starts off, Connor and Ethan tell Dr. Oliver about Kira being kidnapped by these stingwinger-looking creatures. Dr. Oliver tells them that the creatures are Tyrannodrones, and he helped create them. Connor and Ethan show him the gems they took, and a worried look crosses Tommy's face. I really like this beginning. It sets up so many mysteries, and it continues to build up these mysteries and things that aren't entirely explained. I really like that. It's a way to really draw in, the new viewers, but also keep the old viewers interested, because, the old viewers, I remember when Dino Thunder premiered, I had been keeping up with Power Rangers, and I remembered Forever Red, and I did think it was really weird here that Tommy just suddenly doesn't have his powers. They don't explain anything about it. He doesn't seem to know any other Rangers at this point. Alpha's not there with him. I guess still on the Mega Ship, maybe. And there's also no explanation about why he's a teacher or where any of this is coming from. I'll talk about some of that later on, probably. Anyway, I really like how they're building up this mystery, and it works on so many levels. So then Kira wakes up hearing a hushed voice demanding that she hand over the gems. She doesn't know what's going on and tries to get away, but then bumps into the dinosaurian creature, Mesagog. We finally see him up close. His beady bright eyes sunken deep into his reptilian head, and protruding fangs on his weird, separate segmented bottom jaw. Weird body on this guy. So Kira tells him that she gave her gem to Connor and Ethan, and then suddenly the Saurian thing, Mesagog, disappears, and another being emerges from the shadows. It's Miss Randall! What's she doing here? And then we cut away to, and I'll talk about it later. Back with Tommy and the guys, Dr. Oliver is reluctant to tell them what's going on. They keep trying to get him to give them a little bit more information. Why did he create the Tyrannodrones? How does he know what's going on? Does he know where Kira is? What's going on entirely? And he doesn't want to give away too much information at this point. So then back with Kira and Miss Randall, she doesn't recognize her. And also Miss Randall introduces herself as Elsa. Disney Principal Elsa. Huh. Anyway, Kira tries to run away, but then she's blocked by a bulky black knight with an enormous silver axe. Yeah, a lot of weird characters here, aren't there? She's able to get past them by using her Sonic Shriek ability, and she's running down these corridors trying to escape. Then back with Tommy and the guys, he's explaining his past with the Tyrannodrones. He was working with a scientist, Anton Mercer, when their lab was attacked by a monster, Mesagog. Mesagog took control of the Tyrannodrones and turned them against him. And, let's see. And then they start talking about how they don't know where to start looking for Kira, and she's not going to just fall right out of the sky, and then she falls right out of the sky onto Tommy's hood. Disney humor, I guess. Anyway, there's a really weird bit here where, let's see, they get out, they help Kira, and Kira's like, I was running away from the monsters and I fell through a portal. And Tommy pops in and he's like, it's an invisiportal. Thanks, Tommy, really helpful. We don't get any more information about what invisiportals are. He doesn't follow this up with any extra information. He just pops in to say, oh, technically it's called an invisiportal, not a portal, plebeian. I don't know. It's a very awkward scene. I'm not a big fan of this particular part of the episode. So anyway, another monster follows her through the portal, invisiportal. Zeltrax, the big black knight guy. He's brought along some Tyrannodrones. Tommy and the kids fight them off, And then Zeltrak retreats, reporting to Mesagog. Mesagog states his new plan to Zeltrax and Elsa. And his new plan is to unleash Biozords to attack the city. And he also mentions, the people will think that fool Lothor has returned. Which establishes, yep, this is taking place pretty soon after Ninja Storm. I mean, okay, that's fine. It makes it kind of weird that they have that a few years later thing at the beginning of the first episode. Like, I don't know, I guess maybe the prologue to Dino Thunder was taking place before Ninja Storm, like I don't know. The timeline is weird. It doesn't make any freaking sense. Whatever. Back to this. Let's see. There's a really weird part here. Let's see. Mesagog's walking around his little base lab thing, whatever, and the camera is panning past all these little jars full of DNA samples, I guess, and like preserved creatures. Like here's some, like, there's an octopus, there's little animals and fishes, and then for some reason the camera zooms in kind of dramatically on one with an iguana in it. And all I could think was, Juliet, is that you? Yeah, like, it's weird. It doesn't really mean anything from what I remember. Excuse me. From the rest of Dino Thunder. In the rest of Dino Thunder, do iguanas have any kind of relevance to anything? Why does the camera zoom in on this one particular jar that has an iguana in it, unless maybe the intention was to tie in with VR Troopers? Is this Juliet? Is this Carl Zichter's pet iguana? I don't know. There is a character with the name Zichter later, and there's also, biolabs. I'm trying to remember. Let's see. In Time Force, wasn't one of the businesses that, was his father ran, wasn't that? Yeah, that was called Biolabs. I'm wondering if that had any kind of connection. Like, were all these businesses, like, originally planned to be, like, compiled together? Did they, like, form a... Did they all merge or something behind the scenes? And whatever, I'm getting off topic. So anyway, back to the actual thing. The next day, Cassidy questions Kira about what happened. Kira brushes it off and pretends nothing happened. That doesn't really get any follow-up here. It only serves to establish why Cassidy is curious and suspicious of what the Rangers are up to and what Dr. Oliver's up to. This feels like maybe this would have made more sense, like, when she's talking to Devon about trying to contact Angel Grove High in the first episode, if that had happened after all this stuff. Because at that time, she didn't really have any reason at all to be suspicious of him or anybody. Now, Kira's acting kind of weird. She's seen her, Connor, and Ethan hanging out together. Maybe she sees them talking with Dr. Oliver about stuff that's not school-related, and that builds her suspicion, and so then she wants to find out more about Dr. Oliver, and that would... I don't know, were the scenes out of order? Did they think it just fit better there? I don't know, whatever. Moving on. Let's see, so school starts, and then suddenly a ship appears in the sky, darkening everything. Zeltrax is piloting it, and he sets loose on the city the Biozords. The school announces an emergency closure. Tommy takes Connor, Ethan, and Kira aside and takes them to his lab. He shows them morphers he made, and he explains to them that the gems bonded with their DNA. They link them permanently. And reluctantly, the three kids accept their new roles as the Power Rangers Dino Thunder. And, yeah, I like this. This is all fine. It gets a little weird later. There's a thing. Anyway, they go to the Biozords and they run into Zeltrax. They morph and Tommy tells them to summon their weapons. Okay. So then they get their weapons, they, let's see, fight through the army of Tyranodrones and reach Zeltrax. Tommy tells them to combine their weapons. Tommy's just standing off to the side the whole time, I guess. Like, good contribution, Tommy. You could join them. Like, you have powers. And you know the weird thing? Most of this is American footage. They're fighting Tyrannodrones. So I think they could have had Tommy Morph go in and help out the Rangers. And, you know, the other weird thing is, like, apparently they were aware that Tommy had been other Rangers because his suits show up in a future episode. So I'm really confused why they don't use it at all. Like, I don't know, they could have had Tommy morph this one time to, like, help instruct them, but then at the end explain that something weakened his powers, or he used the Zeo crystal or whatever to, like, create the Dino gems, maybe, and so he can't be morphed while they exist? I don't know, something to explain why does he just stand off to the side and not really help. So anyway, the Rangers combine their weapons, fire at Zeltrax, he retreats back to his ship, and then Tommy, still off to the side, yells to them to use their morphers to communicate with the Biozords. The Biozords are linked to them through their gems or morphers, whatever. So then they each gain their Zords. Fortunately, there's 3 Zords and 3 Rangers. So if there was a 4th Zord, then would Tommy have joined in and helped? So then they all get their Zords. Tommy tells them to combine the Zords. Yeah, after being so restrained in the first episode, this episode really moves really quickly, introducing a whole bunch of the stuff that they can do. I don't know, it's just kind of weird. Like, it works just fine. It's just weird. I don't know why they wanted everything all at once here. It's kind of weird. So anyway, they destroy Zeltrax's ship, and oh yeah, the other thing that's kind of irritating throughout Dino Thunder is the stock music from Ninja Storm keeps popping back in at really inappropriate times. Like, we have this big dramatic moment that's supposed to be kind of exciting, and then we have the stupid stock music come in and kind of undercut everything. It'd probably be better just to have no music at all in this case. So anyway, at Tommy's lab, oh wait, no. First we see Zeltrax return to Mesagog, where he and Elsa are subjected to some kind of torture. And I don't quite understand, how exactly it works. Mesagog shoots some kind of beam out his forehead or his eyes at Zeltrax and Elsa, causing them pain. Really weird. I don't exactly know what exactly the intention or the intended, like, whatever. Back to the thing. At Tommy's lab, the morphers turn into bracelets because why not? He tells the Rangers to keep them with them at all times. The Rangers are unsure if they can do this, but Dr. Oliver assures them that if they work together and believe in themselves, no one can defeat them. And that's a cool little bit. I do like that. So yeah, this is a great second episode, despite the few bits I don't think really work that well. I love how the mystery slowly builds throughout the episode, and there's like slowly little things uncovered of the mystery, but then there's a few other things that we never get a clear answer for here, or ever, actually. We finally get a full reveal of Mesagog, and I'm not a big fan of Mesagog's appearance. It's fine, I just don't think it works for a main villain. I don't know, there's just something very off about Mesagog's design that I can't really pinpoint. I think, like, part of it's just I don't think his head really matches his body. His body doesn't match his claws. Just something is off with him, and I can't really pinpoint it. It's really weird. Also, one of the weird things with him, his face, his whole head, reminds me a lot of one of the creeps from Goosebumps. Yeah, in the Goosebumps episode, Calling All Creeps, there's these, like, dinosaurian creatures called creeps, and they look an awful lot like Mesagog, and when I was younger, I wondered if they had reused one of those masks from Goosebumps and, like, reworked it to be Mesagog. That would explain, like, a bit of, like, why it looks the way it does. One of the really weird things with Mesagog is his bottom jaw isn't really connected to the rest of his head. It's, like, way under the rest of his head, and it's, like, it looks like a separate piece. It's a really weird design choice, and, like, if it had been a reused mask that had been, like, adapted, like, they cut it up, repainted it, sanded parts of it, took the jaw off and reattached it, that would make sense as to why it's a separate piece, and that's always what I thought it was. But, like, I've seen a few behind-the-scenes pictures of them, like, making Mesogog's, like, mask from scratch, or at least a mask, so maybe it wasn't a reused Creep's mask. It wouldn't have been the first time that a Goosebumps prop got reused in a Saban production, or, well, Dino Thunder wasn't a Saban production, but it was Power Rangers. And there were a lot of props from like 90s Saban Maritoku shows that found their ways into other shows. Like in Goosebumps, Haunted Mask 2, one of the masks for the main mask in that episode was reused for Dr. Queeze in Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation, which was a Saban production, and some of the props and equipment from Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation did eventually end up in Power Rangers here and there and in some other shows, and then when everything moved to New Zealand, a lot of the props and suits were left behind, but there were some stuff they brought over, and some stuff was like really weird. Like, let's see, the Mystic Knights outfits. Rohan's helmet showed up in a behind-the-scenes picture of the costume warehouse for Super Megaforce. Mystic Knights was shot in Ireland, I think. So it's really unusual. Why in the world would a mask that was used in a show in Ireland have been shipped back to Los Angeles? Unless, like, I don't know, maybe that's just where they stored all the props for Saban shows regardless? I don't know. And it got mixed up with Power Rangers stuff, or maybe they thought they could use it and took it to New Zealand, or maybe it was something Greg Aranowitz saw, because he mentioned in an interview that he went to the prop house and just took a bunch of random stuff, and maybe he saw the Rohan helmet and thought, hey, this looks cool, I'm going to take this, and I don't know. So yeah, that was a long tangent just to say that Mesogog's face just looks off to me, and I always wondered if it was a reused Goosebumps mask. And interestingly, in SPD, that comes up again. There's another creature design in SPD that looks an awful lot like a Goosebumps costume or mask, but I don't know for sure. Because again, like I've seen interviews with Greg Aranowitz and some behind the scenes stuff, and it looks like possibly they made the mask just from scratch over there. So I don't know. So anyway, Elsa's introduced, and she's one of the far weaker elements of this season, I think. I don't think she works very well as a villain, since we never see any kind of, like, motivation for her or anything. At the end of the show, they kind of shoot themselves in the foot with her. Also, I think, like, she doesn't make much of an impression here, and specifically in this episode, she serves more to make Kira look slightly incompetent and stupid for not recognizing that it's Miss Randall. And it's really weird, because I'm not sure if that was always the intention. When she first reveals herself, the camera zooms in dramatically, and there's this dramatic music. Kira looks, her eyes widen, like she recognizes that it's Miss Randall, and that the audience is supposed to recognize that it's Miss Randall, and it's supposed to be a big revelation, like, oh, it's her! But then when we cut back, she's like, you look familiar. She doesn't change anything about her face. She wears, like, a bead thing on her head. She has, like, black lipstick and a thing on her chin. I have no idea what that's supposed to be, a little zipper-looking thing. But yeah, that's enough to make her unrecognizable, I guess. And the other weird thing is, like, her demeanor is completely the same. She doesn't act any differently as Elsa than she does as the principal of Reefside High. And it's really irritating. I'm going to be irritated every time it comes up that the Rangers encounter Elsa and they don't recognize it's Miss Randall. And I know they do mention it at the end of the show, and I don't like it there either. It's really stupid, and I just think it makes the Rangers look really stupid. So anyway, Zeltrax. I'll talk a little bit about Elsa's design. Not really a big fan. It's just she likes black leather. It's not a whole lot there. I don't know. I guess they were going for a different feel than the typical Power Ranger monsters and creatures that have a lot of detail and stuff. Like, Elsa's fine, but kind of like Mesogog, I just don't think it works as a main villain. Plus, she doesn't have any kind of deep motivations or anything. Her motivation is she serves Lothor. She's a glorified version of those Skugs in female disguises that Grimlord keeps around him in VR Troopers, basically. So then Zeltrax, he looks cool. I really like his design. And wouldn't you know, he's the one design for a main villain that they kept from Abba Ranger. Huh, weird. Anyway, he looks cool, but there's not much more to him than that at this point. Later on, he'll be developed a little bit more, and I'll talk about what I think about his backstory and motivations later on, but for now, he's just Zergain Point 2. He's a loyal knight guy who hangs around the main villain, and that's about it. There's not a whole lot to him. He's just the muscle of the group. Let's see, Mesagog controls the new Biozords, and that made me that made me wonder, that T-Rex robot from the first episode, is that a Biozord too? Like, if that thing hadn't run into the bridge and broke itself, would that have been Tommy's Zord? And one of the things that I wondered about was the T-Rex Zord that Connor gets here. Was that possibly reconstructed from that robot T-Rex in the first episode? That would have been an interesting way to link these together. But they don't. There's zero acknowledgement of that dinosaur robot thing, like, ever again. Really weird oversight there, I think. Especially when we have another T-Rex robot here. Also, the T-Rex robot here has way better CGI than the T-Rex robot in the previous episode. Anyway, invisiportals are introduced really clumsily. They don't get any explanation. Nothing more to say there. When the Rangers morph for the first time, Tommy's awkwardly standing off to the side telling them what to do, like I said earlier. And it's a bit frustrating knowing that he should still have some morphing ability, but he doesn't use it because, maybe his coin's in a meteor with Jason's or something. And the other weird thing, what about his Zeonizer? Shouldn't he still have that? I don't know, whatever. He left it in his other gym bag, I guess. Despite that, it is really cool the first time the Rangers morph and we see them in action for the first time. It is a really cool scene, and it's built up really, really well. The pace in this episode moves along really quickly. That's definitely a strong point in Dino Thunder's favor so far, is the pace is really quick. Being able to introduce a lot of things very quickly, but it's cohesive and it's easy to understand everything that's going on, even if it is being introduced really rapid fire. Let's see. It's really weird that the Zords already combine. I don't think that was necessary this early on to defeat Zeltrax's ship. It's not a monster, it's just a ship. So, it's fine, but it's just weird. Especially after the first episode had such restraint and, took its time to establish the characters before, giving them their powers and everything. So anyway, fun episode. Looking forward to the next one. Let's see. Wave Goodbye. That's interesting. Wasn't there an episode of Ninja Storm that also used, a wave pun? I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. Whatever. Anyway, that's it for this one. Hope you enjoyed it. See ya.